Everybody, how's it going? My name is Dylan Campbell and I'm the writer and illustrator of the comic book Scared by the Bell. Scared by the Bell is about a boy named Peter who has his first day at a brand new middle school full of monsters, because we all know middle school is full of monsters, except he has all the scary stuff. He's got vampires, werewolves, gorgons, mummies, zombies. So I grew up reading comic books. I love comic books. I grew up reading Calvin and Hobbes, Spider-Man, X-Men, Donald Duck, and I think for a long time I read those and I saw people like Jim Lee and Todd McFarlane, and I was like, oh, I'll never be that good. So I think I gave up any hopes or dreams or thoughts about being a comic book artist. And then one day I saw an ad online and I took a class at a comic book store to make a mini comic. It was like make a mini comics class. And I sat there and I signed up, and I thought at first that I wouldn't draw it. I was like, oh, I'm not good enough. I'll just I'll write it, and I'll get someone off DeviantArt to draw my comic for me. And I got in there and we started doing exercises, and every week the instructor, this guy named Jim Higgins, he would show us all these different types of comic books, sometimes mainstream, and they started showing us these independent comic books, and I was like, wait, those are comics too? And independent comics, they're a range of things. They're, you got people who are really excellent draftsmen, and then all the way down to other stuff that seems really simple. So I was like, well, I can draw like that. And so I decided to draw the comic, and out came To Catch a Tooth. And it was my first mini comic. It was like 12 or 14 pages. And I was hooked, because, you can take one of those and you can literally hand it to someone and they can sit there and read it. So it's much more edible than spending years and years on a novel or a screenplay that maybe like 10 people will read. I mean, you can just keep handing out your comics or get a booth and give your comics away, put it up on the web, and see those hits every day. And so once I finished the mini comic, I was pretty hooked. And so after that I started doing these little one-page comics, and I put them on Tumblr, and they were just kind of like little one-offs. Some of them were kind of political cartoons, some of them were just kind of like slice of life cartoons. And then I started to get a little antsy, and then I started drawing Scared by the Bell. And at first it was actually about the teacher and her starting a new middle school, and then I turned it into, it's about a kid who starts at a brand new middle school. And at first I just set aside 25 minutes a day, and I was like, okay, just do 25 minutes a day of drawing, and that's all you have to do. And because it's really overwhelming to go, I'm going to do a comic, and you see all the moving parts. And so there's this thing called the Pomodoro method, where you set a timer and you don't do anything for 25 minutes. And so I would set a timer on my little phone. They have an app. There's an app for that. And I would just sit there and I would draw, and then at 25 minutes I would stop. And if I felt good and I kept going, I'd keep going, but I had to at least do the 25 minutes. And then I think it was like after 9 months, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm almost done with the first comic. And only 25 minutes a day. And so that was really invigorating, and it really built my confidence. So then I just finished the comic, and then I started doing the inking, and then I started putting it online. And at first I was hand lettering it, and it was just black and white line art because I didn't really feel comfortable with color. But I just started, I put it up there. And then I took another class at the same Meltdown Comics, RIP Meltdown Comics. And this was with a professor named Chris Northrup, and he showed us how to color digitally with Photoshop, and then how to lay things out with Illustrator. So this is like years. At this point I'm finally like just slowly inching along, and then I started coloring, and I went back and I recolored all the pages that had been up so far, only like half of them, that were in black and white, and I just started posting, and now it's up there. So Scared by the Bell is a web comic. It's up most every Friday, and you can see the new pages. I also have physical hard copies. I have 4 issues now, and I'm done with issue 5. and I'm coloring issue 6. My process is, I've kind of evolved it slowly, but I used to think comic book artists had to get everything right the first time, and then I realized that they draw things in blue line, and then pencils, and then there's an inker, and then a color. And so I draw everything in blue. I thumbnail it out first, so it's like a rough thumbnail, and then I draw things on 11x17 in blue line. It's like a non-photo blue, and then I draw over that in pencil, and then I lightbox it, and then I'll ink it, and I ink with a bunch of stuff. It's like microns or G-nib, sometimes ballpoint pens, depending on what I'm going for. And then I'll scan it, and then I color it in Photoshop, and then I letter it in Illustrator, and then put it on the web, and then send it to the printer. And I really like putting stuff online because you can iterate. So like if you don't like it, you can change it, you can update it. You don't have to commit to anything like you do with print. And there's no cost, you know, so you can just, you can make something, put it up, get feedback or not, change it whether you got feedback or not, and it's a way to kind of get it out there and get to the world rather than kind of working in the dark forever by yourself, and then you make this print comic and then you try and sell it at a convention. I think my biggest influences on the comic would be DuckTales and Star Trek. I'm a big fan of all the Star Treks, especially the original series and Next Gen, and I like the way that they're, especially Next Gen, as it evolved after like season 3, it became, there was an ensemble cast, but then they would zero in on like, okay, this is the Worf episode, or this is the Data episode. And so although they had their cast of characters, they'd kind of share the spotlight, and it was a great way to really get to know a lot of people on that show and to really get attached to them. I think that's one of the reasons why so many people love those characters so much. And I love the way it was like a mix of adventure, but also they grappled with a lot of moral issues. So I'd like to think Scared by the Bell is really fun and whimsical and zany, but at the same time tackling some stuff that hopefully adults and teens and kids can recognize a little bit of themselves and what they've had to go through as well, along with some monsters. I think my advice to anybody starting out would be to just do it. Do something small. It doesn't have to be really big. I didn't start off doing Scared by the Bell. As a long story, I started off with the mini comic, then I did the little one-pagers, and then eventually I built up my confidence up enough to do Scared by the Bell. So I would say do something and have a lot of fun. So let's do some drawing.
ABCD!